Hello, welcome to AI in Action. My name is Maurie. I'm here with my husband, Jim. We are a couple of days late on this week's podcast. We actually had a guest on and we had some recording issues, and we're just trying to figure out that and get another recording done. And so we are a little bit late. And because of that, this is going to be kind of cool. We're actually don't have,
Completely unscripted.
we have no notes.
We have no.
It's kind of like 3 years ago when we started the podcast, and it was just like, okay, this is Jim and his opportunity to talk. Yes, Maggie just entered the room. You hear the clicky toes, the little clicky feet. So, she's old. We have to give her a break. She's going to come over here on the carpet. She'll be fine.
Okay.
Okay. So, anyway, we don't have any notes except for literally what I just wrote down, just a few things on the back of a piece of paper.
Well, the first thing we got to talk about your book signing.
My book signing. It was a lot of fun. So Sunday of this last Sunday, I went to Half Price Books there in Cedar Park and had the second book signing that they've had me come do. And it was a lot of fun. A lot of people showed up. I had a lady from the Austin AI Alliance that I met through LinkedIn that then came to the Austin AI Alliance meeting to meet me in person. She came by to buy a book and get it signed. And so, the support was, I was very touched by the fact that she came and supported
That
me.
wasn't the fun part, though.
Well, of course, that was the fun part. I enjoyed talking to Shauna.
I know, but the really fun part is when the little kids come in.
So there were several parents that actually bought my book because their kid wanted to buy the book for a gift for a teacher. Now, the last time I did this, we let slip who the teacher was. So
not this time.
I'm not going to do it this time, but there were several students who bought books for their teachers. And so I was able to personalize the book to them and just basically put a little note from the student, that they were doing a good job and they touched lives and things. And so the kids were really excited about giving their teacher.
It's a unique gift compared to kids get nice little cute gifts and stuff, but I should say most of the time the parents probably find the gifts.
Oh, absolutely.
But the last time that you did it, the actual, am I too close to the microphone again?
I think you are.
Last time, it was actually the kid's idea. The parent was there and the parent paid for it, but the kid was like, "Oh, this would be a great gift for my teacher." And
that's what has happened this time too.
Yeah.
That the parent would come up and just start talking to me about it, and then the student is like, "Oh, my teacher would like that." So
yeah,
it was cool. I really enjoyed it.
I think you moved my microphone too far away.
Oh my goodness, you and your microphone.
I don't talk crazy loud.
All right,
anyway,
so let's
do some headlines.
Headlines. One of the posts that I just did. LinkedIn is not. I'm not getting as many impressions as I did like 3 weeks ago. Something's either changed with the algorithm, or I really think that people are taking a break from schools and the colleges and stuff.
Could be
and a lot of my followers are other teachers and professors. And so I'm not getting as many impressions. And the one that I just did about the White House policy that just came out that Trump signed.
The executive order to where states can't pass their own laws, or they can, but if they do, they risk losing federal funds.
BEAD funding and stuff.
Funding, yes.
Yeah, and so I did a post about that, and I figured I'd get a little more traction on it because basically my point of view, and you and I actually had a little bit of an argument about this. Surprise, surprise, Jim and I were having an argument.
I know, you can't. You're wrong, I get it.
Yeah. So my point of view is that the states need to be able to do some of their own stuff with artificial intelligence, but we need to have a floor. We need to have a minimum requirement that is set by the federal government, because there are so many states that haven't even thought about artificial intelligence guidelines. I think the last time I looked, Pat from code.org, he keeps up with it on LinkedIn. And I think the last time I checked, there was only 39 or 40 states that had AI guidance.
Well, that's quite a few.
But they're really being pushed to do the guidance, and the guidance is very, very vague. Now, I'm not talking about what they're saying you can do if you're a company or a corporation, or you're doing something business-wise in that state, which a lot of the executive order and the policy that the White House just signed has a lot to do with not hindering innovation.
Yeah, but and my point of view on that was I heard this same argument when the World Wide Web was starting. And when the web started getting big and all these companies like Amazon and companies were doing commerce on the web, remember the internet is not the same. The internet is the underneath. The web sits on top of it. So when the web sat on top of the internet and all this commerce started, there was a lot of companies, and I remember Amazon specifically arguing that if they had to deal with
each individual
state's rules when it came to sales tax, that they wouldn't be able to do it. And their argument is that it would put a regulatory capture thing in place, a barrier that would keep only the big companies would be able to do this. Now, back then, Amazon wasn't as big, so they were arguing that point. Of course, they're more than happy to have sales tax laws for everybody now because they're so huge that they have the infrastructure to deal with it. The little companies don't.
What's really funny is you talking about this brings back nightmares, because a long time ago, before Amazon, we had a little company called Baby Express.
I sold baby goods.
And what I did is I'd had a child and I was at home, and I realized how difficult it was to get out of a house. My God, we were so ahead of our time. It was difficult to get out of the house and go get just basics, formula and diapers and things that I needed. And I was like, wow, wouldn't it be great if I had somebody who could ship that to me? And so I started a small shipping company called Baby Express, where I literally went and did shopping.
Such a great name.
I know. I went and I did shopping for other people, and I shipped it to them. And I hit that wall too, to where if I was shipping somewhere other than the county that I was in, and it was like a sales tax situation, to where I was having to start tracking
where it was
going so that I could collect the sales tax from the person that lived in that location and then pay that sales tax to that location. And Amazon is correct. As a small business, that's a nightmare. Now, there's a lot of programs out there now that do it for you. I mean, there's a lot of your shipping tag-ins and your shipping apps.
The same argument now is being made about AI. We can't have these regulatory, can't have the state of California deciding that you have to do a better job of verifying or putting guardrails in place, or you can't have, Texas deciding that they should have their own set of rules about it. Theoretically, you can understand the argument.
And I put that
makes sense. It makes sense theoretically.
50 different rules.
Unfortunately, it is kind of counterintuitive when you think about it, because there's this huge push right now to downsize the federal government and give control back to states. Except, of course,
it has money involved.
Whenever you have this particular thing, you've got all these
big corporations,
billionaires that are lobbying, Elon Musk and Bezos and all these guys, and they're all big in AI.
Right.
So they're lobbying to make sure the states can't put this regulatory things in place.
My point in my post was that there needs to be federal government floor. It's like
what you mean by that.
A floor. To me, it's like, okay, minimum required when it comes to the education piece of artificial intelligence.
He didn't cover that, though.
He didn't cover that, but I'm waiting for that to happen. That needs to happen.
That would have made more sense to me, to have an executive order for that, to require all of the, there to be some kind of education in place. But that's not what this is about. This was literally just about making sure you didn't put a rule in place that made it
hindered the big companies
for these big companies to sell.
I'm waiting for an executive order. And you know what? There was an educational executive order previously.
Yeah.
But still, the states are still doing what they want to do when it comes to
this. Which is nothing in most
cases. Which is nothing in a lot of cases. And I'm just seeing that divide, that gap is just continuing to widen in our educational environment.
Let's move on. This is a passion of yours, but let's move on a little bit.
Well, rural America matters.
I understand that. So what else happened in the news?
5.2 came out.
ChatGPT
5.2. I was just using 5.1. 5.2 came out. One of the things that immediately I noticed is I always do like an image generation before I do a post. And now when I ask it to do like, hey, let's do an image, it gives me like 3 different stock images.
Yeah, it did that to me today too.
And for me to like, which one do I like? I don't like that. No. I want to tell you what I want the image to be.
I want you to generate it.
And I want you to generate it. I have noticed that if you put the word create an image,
You have to tell it.
you have to specifically
It's
say.
actually on the left-hand column now. It says image. I didn't click on that. I just did it within the chat window.
Yeah, I always do it within
because
the chat
there's an
window.
image in the chat window. I'm wondering what happens when I click on, because Sora showed up in the left hand up there. So I'm wondering if they've kind of separated a little bit. Yeah. I really don't know. My test infographics, because
Jim
ever since
is crazy. Jim is crazy about infographics.
I love them. Nano Banana Pro came out.
No. Say it. You got to say it.
It's
You always say it a certain way. You say
Nano Banana Pro.
Nano Banana Pro.
It's a cool name. Anyway, when it came out, I used it to generate an infographic because I needed an infographic. It wasn't that I was particularly looking for it. What I liked about Notebook LM was that it had started allowing me to generate infographics. But when that particular version came out, it got a lot better. And it's really good. So the first thing I did was try to use the new image.
Again, I did a little LinkedIn post about that really because you went a little crazy on your infographics with Nano Banana Pro.
I did.
So the first thing you did with this one was an infographic, and you were not impressed. So 5.2
it wasn't bad. I mean, it didn't make spelling errors. That was nice.
I was out doing my assessment at Christmas today, so I haven't really had a chance to play with the image generation. Now, I'm one of the old Midjourney users. Like, I started using Midjourney when it was still a Discord channel, and they didn't have any of the web interface or anything like that. So I use Dolly through OpenAI as a convenience, but if I ever really want an in-depth image, I still go back to Midjourney.
I should go to Midjourney and do an infographic and see how they do.
You should check it out.
I should. Anyway, what else happened?
The other thing that I'd like to talk about tonight, we have been going around and we've had the opportunity to talk at a lot of different locations this year. Yes. A lot more higher ed locations, universities. And one of the things that we talked about was how the AI bubble, as people keep calling it, is not a bubble.
I don't like the term bubble.
I don't like the term bubble. And we actually did a presentation when we talked about this, and somebody came up to me afterwards and was like, I love the way that you explained this. So I wanted that to be on our podcast, because the way that we explained it was that a bubble, when it pops, it's gone.
The tulip thing. That's the example everybody starts. It was in, Holland or whatever. It was, in the 1600s, and tulips became this huge deal. When that popped, it popped because there's nothing left except some tulips, and their lifespan isn't very long when they're sitting in a warehouse.
Right. That's
truly a bubble. But when you start talking about throughout history, the things they call bubbles, like the railroad bubble in England, that wasn't a bubble.
It laid down infrastructure.
It laid down a huge amount of infrastructure. You go all the way up to the late 90s when you start talking about the dot-com, or the early 2000s, the dot-coms, you start talking about even companies like Enron. I mean, these companies built out massive computing infrastructure. They built out massive amounts of fiber connections everywhere. That stuff was still there.
Right. And that's why we like to call it a wave.
It is a wave.
It's a wave. It's not a bubble. So the AI wave might peak and it might go down, but
I think they call it cresting.
Yeah. And then going down or crashing. But the amount of water is still there. The infrastructure is going to remain. And I don't know if it's going to be used for the same things that it's being used for now, which is a good segue into the next thing we're going to talk about. But we definitely think that AI is a wave. It is not a bubble.
They're talking about
never going to go away.
They're talking about building a data center the size of Manhattan.
Where?
Not in Manhattan.
In our backyard, probably.
No, it's not in our backyard.
Some small rural American place with no water.
It is probably rural America with no water. But when you start talking about building data centers, it's like the crypto stuff. I mean, crypto stuff it wasn't a bubble either.
No, it's still
all these GPUs that got built and bought by these people, a lot of them got converted over to be used for AI.
Correct.
For the AI training and inference stuff. So a lot of even if it crests and falls, people aren't going to say tomorrow, we're not using ChatGPT anymore. Which is there's 800 million users a month.
900.
900 million.
It just hit. Oh, I know something you don't know.
Well, I hope so.
Oh my gosh. Oh, hang on. I've got to bask for just 1 second.
You know, it's really annoying when you do that.
But this is what's funny is that you actually sent me the podcast to listen to on the way to Austin, and it was in the podcast that I listened to on the way to Austin.
It's really annoying.
They just announced that they're off the 800 million mark, and they are now at the 900 million mark of users.
Yeah, it's unbecoming whenever gloating is unbecoming. I'm sorry. I don't think you're at the second time you've done that.
Sorry. So let's talk about this.
Which we talk about with a lot of universities and students.
The wave is happening. The infrastructure is getting put in place. What are they going to use it for? What are they going to use it for? And this is where I want to segue into talking about artificial intelligence and the two different types of AI usage.
So there's lots more, but this is how we present it.
Right. And there are other people that present it this way.
There are.
I've heard it this way a couple of times.
I have to.
There is a difference in something that is used for efficiency and something that is used for opportunity. And so we call it efficiency AI versus opportunity AI. And it's one of those things that we were just talking about earlier tonight. There's a lot of things in the world and in the past that starts out as something that is just being used for efficiency.
Sure.
And when we talked to A&M not too long ago, we actually brought up something as simple as a horse. You know, back in the day, whenever somebody discovered, hey, I can get on this horse's back and I can ride this horse, it was an efficiency thing. It was more efficient not to have to walk into town. They could ride the horse into town. But then somebody somewhere went, let's look at this for an opportunity. Now I can use the horse to carry goods. I can use the horse to pull a plow. I can use the horse to carry the mail. So they took something that was efficient and they turned it into opportunity. The same thing happened with the automobile. Whenever the first automobiles came out,
that was in our last presentation.
That's what, yeah. And when the first automobiles came out, people looked at it and they thought, wow, this is kind of cool. It's an efficient way to do something. But then it took that different brain, that different thinker, the one that thought outside the box, to say, you know, I could use this for transporting goods. And then now we have like this huge infrastructure that's in place with 18-wheelers and, you know, it's so,
yes.
And this is what's happening, I feel, with artificial intelligence.
Well, put it this way. This is what the AI companies desperately want. The problem that the AI companies are getting desperate. I mean, I think in that podcast I gave you, he talked a little bit about Microsoft. They got hit with on their stock because their
Oracle
estimation of what they were going to do in terms of adoption for their chatbot, their Copilot, wasn't what they thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Well, you know, some of these, when it goes down because the market decides you missed a number, the fact that number was just a guess in the first place, that they added a bunch of stuff to, is kind of ridiculous that it reacts like that. But anyway, Microsoft Copilot, I don't like Copilot that much.
What I don't like about it is that it's constantly saying, here I am, here I am.
Well,
here I am.
That's that desperation piece. These companies are so desperate to move you from efficiency versus, people will pay more for tools that give them new opportunities. It becomes more sticky. Efficiency, I can switch between AIs very easily if it's just about efficiency. But when you start talking about opportunities where I'm building an infrastructure around it, which is the biggest problem you have when you're trying to use AI in a company, is you have a whole bunch of existing things that you do every day. You've got databases and processes and workflows and all this stuff, and getting it into that is hard. But once you get it there, it's really hard to remove it. And that's what they really want you to be using it for, because that opens up a whole new set of opportunities. It goes well beyond whether or not I can send out an email faster, or I can, you know, generate some kind of stuff faster, you know, or even do numbers faster. That's all well and good. But now when I can use them to spot trends in ways, interact with my data in real time using the voice interaction, which I never could do before. If you were an executive in a company, there was a whole layer of people underneath you whose task was to bubble up information to you
Mm-hmm.
and filter it up to you in a way that you could then theoretically make decisions with it. But as you filtered it up, you lost things along the way. And it was, as an executive, it's really difficult for you to query that data at the lowest level. That's just not really possible. Now it's becoming more possible. So now there's an opportunity, if you're an executive, to ask questions in ways you never thought of.
Mm-hmm.
That's an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about being efficient anymore. You just flat couldn't do it before.
Right.
But the companies are desperate to move it that way. The problem is people aren't adopting it at the rate they want. The chatbot they're using, but they're not adopting it at the rate these companies are. And the integration piece is hard.
I think that's because most people still view it as an efficiency product. They
for the ones that even know what it is.
That's true. We just had a conversation
with someone, and he literally said, this was a few days ago. He said to me, my kids told me about this thing called ChatGPT, and I went,
huh?
You haven't heard of that?
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
Exactly.
And because we live in sort of an AI, I guess.
Again, it's the lady on the train.
Yes.
It's the lady on the train. And it's if you guys have been listening to us for a while, we kind of joke about the fact that we went to do a presentation at the TCA conference, and 3 days before, Jim comes to me and he's like, hey, Maurie, we're going to change the presentation because we don't need to give them the history of AI. And so we didn't give them the history.
Everybody knows it.
Everyone knows it. Everyone knows what AI is now. Everyone's heard of it. And so we took it out of the presentation, and then there was a lady on the train that basically said the one thing she didn't like about all of the presentations is that nobody told her about where it came from.
I accused her of,
which
I accused you of paying her off.
I didn't. So it's the lady on the train syndrome. There are still a lot of people out there. And I did a survey at our district not too long ago, just going in and asking teachers, hey, do you utilize artificial intelligence? Do you utilize artificial intelligence? And a lot of them were like, no, I don't use it. And then a couple of them were like, oh, is it the thing that's coming up at the top of Google now that just kind of gives me the answer so I don't have to go search for it?
That's what Google wants, though. I mean, at the end of the day, what Google wants it to become ubiquitous, just like search did. Search was one of those things that Google doesn't want to lose their brand.
Of course not.
But they, at the same time, they want you to think of AI and Google search as one and the same. Mm-hmm. At some point, it's going to become where it is one and the same. It
already is. Whenever I go to Google on my phone now and I ask it a question,
it still has the AI mode button, and it still feels bolted on.
It's got to the point, though, where I just look at what's at the top. And if I need more information, then I'll scroll down to actually go to the website.
For me, what Google ought to be doing is running those ads on the side instead of not on whenever I was in Gemini.
Now, if you pull up Google Chrome on my desktop computer,
it puts it at the top, and then it puts
all the ads pop up on the side. They start popping up on the side online. So maybe you haven't updated your Google Chrome browser recently.
It's possible.
Maybe that's it.
Maybe.
All right. Efficiency versus opportunity. I think it's really important. I think it's a mindset. And I think that it's going to take education.
What concerns me, which is why I brought it up, what concerns me is the lack of the movement is so fast in this industry. And think about it. I mean, we're about to start our 4th season of this podcast, which means that's about how long this has been going on. And it's been going on, it's been going on 3 years, almost exactly 3 years.
November 2022.
November 2022. So it's been going 3 years. And the difference between then and now is remarkable. I mean, it really is remarkable. And we look at it and go, we can do things now we couldn't do before.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that he said on that podcast, the gap between the people who use AI and the opportunities and the efficiencies they get is growing wider. It's going to be harder for the people who are refusing to touch it right now.
They're not going to catch up.
They're not going to, because it's not linear.
Yeah,
the learning is
like
not linear.
Wheel. He called it like
he called it a flywheel.
A flywheel.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's what concerns me about somebody commenting to me that they didn't know what ChatGPT was. You can sit here and say to yourself, I'm not going to use that stuff. But who else is, especially if you're an educator and you're saying, I'm not going to use that stuff because kids are losing the ability to think. And I've got to have this. I've got to have the ability to think, and I've got to do it the same way I've always done it. What you're not doing, maybe you're not doing yourself any harm. what are you doing with those kids? They're either A, not learning how to think with AI, which is one loss of opportunity because it can lead to a whole new set of opportunities to learn new ways of thinking. I did that over the last few days. I did something over the last day and a half that I could have never even begun to done. And I did it really fast because of the fact that I use AI tools. Mm-hmm. And so you're losing that, but you're also losing the kid just learning how to use it well. You know, when I was talking to a parent recently, and she asked me about using, what's the matter? You like my phone?
No, I was just checking on something. That's all.
One at a time. We still got 5 minutes left.
Oh, okay.
When we were talking about it, I said, you know, when Maurie and I teach people, we talk to people about kids and AI. We tell everyone that our goal is to create skeptics. We want them not a fear skeptic, meaning I'm afraid of it, so I'm not going to use it, but skeptic in the sense of trust that verified, the old librarian thing, check your sources.
You used to always tell me, trust in God, but tie up your camel.
Yes.
And so I always thought that was kind of funny. But...
And so what we tell people is that if you don't teach them, they're going to use it anyway. They're going to use it badly, just like social media. So if you want them to miss out on opportunities, don't teach them. And if you want them to use a tool very badly, don't teach them. You got to model it. Yeah. You've got to show. I don't want at the school district, I don't want kids off on their own using AI to write papers and stuff like that. I don't think that's particularly useful. What I want is the teachers using it in the classroom and them figuring out together what it can't do. Find out what those boundaries are, that kind of stuff. I think the areas they're going to lose the most, if they're not careful, are the people that are already tend to be behind when it comes to technology because of inaccessibility, which is rural areas.
I agree.
And what do you lose when you lose the ideas and thoughts and innovations of someone who lives in the middle of nowhere? I mean, it's a whole world of opportunity that you lose. Not all good ideas come from somebody who lives in the city. There's a lot of stuff in rural areas because of the fact that you're resource constrained out here. You get more innovative to try to get things done.
The mother of invention.
Yeah, necessity is the mother of invention.
So that has a little bit to do. We had an interview with Tina Austin, she has a thing called the Unblooms.
Yeah, we're still trying to get that interview.
We're still trying to get that interview, and we will. Otherwise
we had technology problems.
Gee, what a shocker. So her Unblooms is cool because, Bloom's taxonomy is something that you're trained and you go from a certain level and you go up a pyramid. And basically she's taking and she's flipping that because creativity and things like that, AI can do it so much faster that the students aren't seeing the point. So it's interesting. We'll talk to her hopefully next week.
We'll get that.
The other thing that we're going to do is we have an interview with a gentleman that started a company called Zero Eyes. Which
that's the gunshot
I'm
detector.
looking forward to that one and I told him, I said, hey, I'd love to have you on the podcast, but we are not going to hold back when it comes to AI weapon detection. We're going to be asking some pretty tough questions.
I looked into it.
And he's like, bring it on. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I looked into it after Uvalde here in Texas. Yes. I looked into the gunshot. It's not a gunshot detector. I said that wrong. It's a gun detector, meaning that it's supposed to help you spot them. Well, news headline the other day.
I know. We're going to talk to him about that.
Yeah. News headline the other day. And I was skeptical because when I was looking at it, and I was even looking at it from I always look at things. Can I build something out of it? Can I make something? Can I make a prototype? I'm always trying to build something. And I'm looking at it with Jared, our youngest son, and he goes, Dad, what if they just put a towel over it? Yeah. Or what if they stick it in their jacket? Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting conversation, I think, because I am a skeptic and I'm not very good at hiding the fact that I'm skeptical about a piece of technology. Subtlety is not my strong suit. I'm working.
Yeah, we'll talk about that conversation you had with Dell off.
Yeah, I know.
My name is Maurie. I'm here with my husband, Jim. Thank you so much for joining us for AI in Action, and we hope that you guys have a marvelous rest of the week.